applies to towers.
Yes, that's what we saw during China. They were able to use that so effectively. Either way, we're going to go ahead, get into our first pick and ban. And Vietnam, they've done the research, TJ. They said, no, the Superman's not allowed. We'll have to see if they follow that up with the Omen.
I should hope they get rid of that Omen. I should also maybe consider saving it for their own star player during this AWC Bronze 5. He's played Omen exceptionally well in the split lane.
Well, Malik being banned out here by China as they take their time to tick things down. For China, they're often ones that can really just play anything at the moment. They really don't care what gets banned against them. For China, they're actually Aram not going to be playable here for Vietnam.
Yeah, and that's interesting because the only notes I really have here about Aram, aside from her generally being a powerful character, is that Junjun over on the Chinese team plays her extraordinarily well. So it's interesting to see them be the ones to ban it out, but it's still such a powerful character, it's rare to see her not banned.
Vietnam, their second ban here for Game 1, going to be the Grak, as he has popped up here during the World Cup. Of course, I know, TJ, you're disappointed. You'd love to see the hooks from... But
counterpoint, the fact that Grak is good enough that he's getting banned is absolutely an improvement. People appreciate my man Grak.
China going to be banning, of course, the Teamy. Vietnam doing their homework, getting rid of the Omen, but that does leave the Zenial to be the first pick here for China.
And it was instantly locked in. Monkey absolutely on board with the Zenial pickup because it is so powerful currently. I do expect that to be run on probably 98k.
See here, interesting fact actually about 98k is that he is actually more of a support coach here for China that's come on in to actually play.
We were talking to some of the players in the lobby, and apparently he's one of their coaches, and pending some travel issues, he's come into play. And that's why he's playing more passive, more defensive, more safe, because he's not necessarily as mechanically talented as many of their players, but he certainly showed he's got the tactician's brain.
For Vietnam, though, this does leave up the Lindis for TF, and TF has had consistent performances coming in to the World Cup during the group stage. He did get abused quite a bit. On top of that, for Yamate, also going to be locking in the Kilgoroth.
I really like the Lindis. Lindis currently, in my opinion, the most powerful jungle marksman out there. Definitely up there. Maybe Violet's better in some people's eyes because of her range to towers, but it's absolutely pivotal when locked in on your team.
For China here now, in response, looking at the Scud, the Tulin's going to get locked in as well. Boy. Scud, all right.
Both more meta than we're used to seeing from China, but I'm excited too. Their mage player, typically very effective. Nan1 in the mid lane, he's actually the one to lock it in. And I do love it because that high mobility character will allow them to stay so fast and so eager for fights.
And he's very smart in his positioning, especially because he did play it once during the group stage, waited for a fight to collapse on, and then came on in. I believe he cleaned up with a triple kill in the mid lane, so he's rather smart about his positioning, knowing the limits of the hero. Now for Vietnam, what they're looking to, Chuknar being locked in here.
I like the Chuknar. Definitely haven't seen him be so visibly influential, but one of the things to keep your eye on with Chuknar is the fact that he's CC immune at a lot of different points in the game, so you'll see him intercept things like the Slim's Thrown Spear, things that could be and should be a deadly initiation for the other team, just peel off of a Chuknar, and that can be invisibly effective.
Now, during my notes here for Vietnam, this is actually a rather important pickup for Blake. He really likes to play the Liliana. Had a really good performance, but TJ, look across the board. The Fennec getting locked in for Yichen.
That's what we were hoping for because it is so out of meta.
And it's just insane amount of damage. All the time, like he can go around, he can take down towers, especially with Yichen. We saw how fast he can clear out the jungle. His farm game is ridiculous on him.
Yichen plays him to such an exceptional degree. I love seeing new, weird characters be played. I haven't seen Fennec in meta since, I guess, weeks 1 and 2 of Valor series. So the fact that he's coming back is cool. He was never really impossible to play, but a recent buff makes him very, very effective. Watch this ultimate, Chain Hammer Cyclone. It now applies those Thief's marks I was talking about earlier, meaning you can very easily stack the marks onto multiple people in a team fight.
And final pickup here for China. Going to be the lumber, so going to have some nice disengage as well as a nice front line if they want to go in onto Vietnam. Like we mentioned, China, they are a bloody team and they want those fights. Vietnam, final pick coming on through, going to be the Alice.
Alice, one of, I think, the most undervalued characters here. Polo plays him very, very well as one of the best support players currently in the game. I love watching Polo play him, and I can't wait to see what he does here.
Now, taking a look here, TJ, you know, what is the plan for Vietnam when you take a look at this comp? Are you just looking to TF getting farmed up so he can try and carry those fights later? Or especially Bronze 5, who's made an exceptional performance during the group stages where he popped off, honestly. He showed up.
I think the Kilgroth can be very effective at split pushing during the game. That's something to keep your eye very much on. Also, pay attention, like you were talking about, to TF. If this trio works well, let's actually make it all 4 of them. If this 4-man squad works well, it's Yamate in the front line, slowing down the fight, especially with Shockwave, which is, Energy Surge, which applies a slow to anyone it's hit, which is one of the widest AoE slows in the game. Then you have the Liliana-Alice combo, which doesn't even need to be explained. Alice will slow down that fight, especially with the Hissy Fit, and it will amplify the damage coming out of a formidable Liliana player.
Well, I'm excited. It is game 1 here between China and Vietnam. Both teams looking to fight for their slot next week at the TCL Chinese Theater. Only 4 teams can join us during next weekend. China looking unstoppable after the group stage. 4-0, did not drop a single game. The only seed 1 team making it here into the knockout stage to actually do it. On top of that, they came in as a tier 2 team.
Oh, yes. And I think they're the only tier 2 team to come through as a tier 1 team.
Yes.
Which is very exciting as well. The Chinese team has been improving at such a rapid rate. This is the chance where they get to display another iteration.
Well, let's see. China already making their way up, and Blake just a little far forward. Got to be a little bit careful there. Already gets tagged there by the Scud.
Just a friendly reminder.
It's like, hey, you're playing the quarterfinals. Please respect me. Do not try and push all the way up into the lane at 30 seconds.
Both teams typically go for a trade invade at this point, but you can actually see, we talked about this, Vietnam, a very defensive team, did not opt to do so. Now TF takes the front, but I fear too much time has passed. Junjun is back to mount a defense.
Yeah, he's got Polo there. Instead, it looks like TF looking for a possible gank toward the bot lane, but still a bit early, and 9AK is playing pretty safe.
Impossible gang towards the bot lane. They've just lost too much time too early on. This is already looking like perhaps the worst habits of the Vietnamese team.
Because if you look across here, Yi Chen already, they were able to take away the buff. He went back on down toward his bot side, picked up his Might Golem, and now he's going to pick up his Sage Golem. He actually gets 3 buffs to start things off.
And that is huge. I've seen players talk about getting 3 of the 4 buffs. They say if you do that, you're guaranteed the victory. The stats don't quite back that up, but getting all 3 buffs is massive.
You see TF, he's just looking to apply pressure somewhere on the map because look, toward the top side, they actually cleared out his jungle, so he was, clearing out the bot Seagull, but when he came back up toward his top side, there was nothing for him to farm, so this kind of just slows down his pathing on the Lindis. Now has to wait up for some of these camps to respawn so he can get some more experience in gold. But look at this, China already forming around the Abyssal Dragon.
And they'll melt it so fast. Vietnam need to get in here.
Hammers come out toward the side looking to just disengage. Abyssal Dragon gets secured there by Yi Chen. Yamate stuck in the front line, and that's going to be first blood to China in the quarterfinals. Polo gets caught out, making a double kill for Nanwan.
Beautifully done by China. This is the aggression we were looking for. And Vietnam, they're playing defensive Bronze 5. You're not supposed to be taking your own buff during that time. If you know the opposing side are pressuring down near the Abyssal Dragon, I want to see you taking advantage of that.
And that's just the power of grouping this early for China, especially with Yi Chen, who farmed up, got the triple buff, had the Chain Hammer available to zone away Vietnam. They could not come down the river. They were actually CC'd for a solid 2.5 seconds while the Abyssal was down below 1,000 health, but Vietnam still couldn't do anything.
Yeah, watch this again, because the Chinese team actually kite out the dragon much further than most teams do.
Oh, 30! Oh.
Yeah, they managed to burn it down actually as it's beginning to regenerate HP, playing it very close to the wire based on the knowledge that that'll make it a little bit more difficult for Vietnam to get it.
Well, sitting at a 1,300 gold lead, 2 kills. At 3 minutes here for game 1, they got themselves the Abyssal Dragon, now wanting to open up the map, maybe find another kill, because you can already see the lumber toward the top side, looking to cut the wave in half. And China might be looking for a dive here. Mengji goes underneath the tower rather aggressively, and now Nanwan wants to come in for the fight. Knockup comes on back. Vietnam is split. Tower gets taken down. Bronze 5 will follow. 2 kills again for China.
That was legitimately one of the coolest tower takes I have ever seen. The way they were able to press forward, then rely on the Angelic Splendor to mitigate the tower damage coming through on them, as well as regenerate their HP, was insane.
And in my notes here, TJ, I was looking to talk about a duo roaming here for China. Yi Chen and Nanwan. Right now, it is 4 members. Mengji, Junjun, all going up together. Meanwhile, while 9AK is just in that side lane farming.
And he's having a great time. Let's talk about Mengji, though, because he's still pressuring jungle. Even whilst the rest of his team falls back, he's enough of a threat that Vietnam are doing what I was talking about in the pregame. They're grouping a little bit too much on the defensive and losing a lot of jungle control because of it.
Yeah, he's known to go in aggressively into the jungle. Mengji now helps his team out, but up toward this top side, he has to be a little careful himself. 3 members of Vietnam coming on over, but down in the bot lane, China take out Bronze 5 once again. That's a key member for Vietnam that keeps getting killed here.
Every single fight, the Chinese team managed to pressure from more than one side. They always have a flank that comes in about halfway through the fight. There, they gave just enough of a fair fight that Bronze 5 felt it was worth fighting, and then the flank comes out. 2 more players leaping from the bush behind him. By the time Bronze 5 realizes he's made a mistake, committed to an unwinnable fight, he's eaten alive.
You can see all the gold being funneled once again onto Nanwan. Let's take a look here. Marco Polo.
Yes, I'm still ashamed by the fact that that punt came through. But one of the things we were asking for is Polo here? He's a very, very influential player for Vietnam, both in the fact that he's insane when he's on point and that Vietnam are missing a major asset when he's not.
He's known to explore. He likes to roam around the map and help set up plays, but right now China have applied so much pressure onto Vietnam that there isn't a whole lot of room for him. He's mainly answering the aggression, going across the map back and forth, and even falling a little bit behind. Look at the level. He's sitting at 5, and Bronze 5, speaking of 5, gets taken on down.
Beautifully done again to know exactly where Bronze 5 is and instantly have the response. The Chinese team have such good map awareness and coordination.
Honestly, Vietnam, they're yelling Marco, but Polo is not answering, it would seem. The pressure still coming on through, but meanwhile, in bot lane, actually make that mid lane. 9AK now coming up to the top lane to help answer China. All lanes being pressured here by China, because look, there's even a bot wave starting to form. Yi Chen can come down and take this.
And he will. There's no way to stop that tower take by the time they realize it is going down. It is gone.
So every lane at the same time, TJ.
Is that allowed?
I don't know how they do it. On top of that, they now have Abyssal Dragon control once again.
And again, they're confident enough in that Fennec to have enough burst that they kite the dragon out of its radius to give them just a little bit more space to work with. Tiny little detail, but really fun to see.
Yeah, and welcome to Mengji, as he is known for his aggression through the jungle. I'm sorry, viewers at home. I'm sorry, chat. They let me write some of the lower thirds. TJ doesn't like it, but I like plays like this from Yi Chen and Mengji being aggressive onto the Darkslayer at 7 minutes.
Mengji is so fun to watch because, like we were saying, he plays split lane, but he's constantly invading jungle. When you're able to do that, well, your team gains control and gains a gold lead awfully quickly.
And speaking of gold leads, it's 7,000 for China. 3, 1, and 5 across their objective totals and make it a 6th tower as Mengji just dives underneath it with Yi Chen.
They just punch the tower.
They just punch it down. He's got the Infinity Gauntlet, TJ. He doesn't care.
There's nothing you could do in the face of this Chinese team when they want a tower, it seems. They're so coordinated.
Well, Blake has to be careful there. Was getting some damage taken from Yi Chen. You see Bronze 5 coming on over. Polo still sitting at level 7. So far behind, and now they're getting stuck into their base, TJ. This is the issue with Vietnam. They don't try and push out once they start turtling, and it's very usually a slow death.
They need and generally are very good at slowing down the game, but I don't know if anyone can slow this train down.
You saw the tower. It's going to fall. Yamate over toward the side is going to get taken down himself. Yi Chen will get the kill credit. The train has arrived at the station. Nanwan also able to pick up a kill on toward the side. You see Blake is being chased down by 9AK over by the Abyssal Dragon.
Why?
And 9AK, he doesn't care. He still has his ultimate up in case China goes for a fight on a dive into the base.
It's more useful for 98K here to chase Blake away behind tower and keep him from returning to base than it is for he to be in the front lines, because he could return in an instant with that
He's still chasing him, TJ!
That's
Blake has nowhere to run! He's catching up! China have now broken all 3 of the high ground towers of Vietnam's base. Nanwan just jumps on in there with Mungji, Yamate, and guess what? The Zenyul is going to be stopped. But guess what? The core is being taken here by China. Minions still coming into the base. Polo gets taken down. Are you serious? 9AK, let the man go home. He's not in Kansas anymore. And China take game 1.
What on earth was that? Hello, China. Welcome to the semi-finals.
Oh, they still got 2 games to go, TJ, before we can check mark that one away. But after a performance like that, I don't blame you.
That was insane. With a game like that, Vietnam, a traditionally defensive team, a team that can definitely get rattled in the face of aggression, I think they're thoroughly rattled. They're sitting in some of those new D-box seats.
Oh, they got some.
Those are the ones that vibrate.
Yeah. No, don't worry. I got it. I was just making sure.
Right.
But give this. Look at the team coordination here, buddy. Junjun and Nanwan. Nanwan 100% kill participation. The Lumber sitting at 90. And the damage from Nanwan.
Yeah. Hello, Nanwan. This is what we were talking about when we said Nanwan was a player to watch. I'd also especially like to highlight the damage taken across the board here. Very, very even. That typically comes out when you don't have either a whole bunch of focus coming through or you have such a big lead that the tanks don't really need to take the front line. Your tanks only need to dedicate themselves to taking damage when you're getting focus down in the backlines. If Nanwan was constantly in peril, then you start having the Lumber diving in front of bullets, taking fights instead of them. Here, wasn't a problem.
Well, unfortunately, for Vietnam, they're going to have to change up something in the play style. They have to adapt here when it comes to playing against China because they got demolished in game 1. TJ, that was a perfect game 1.
Yeah, in every sense of the word, both in the technical term of, yes, that was a perfect game. No towers, no kills, no response from Vietnam. But also in the sense that that was some of the cleanest arena of Valor I've ever seen. Especially after yesterday. Korea gave us a show. I thought no one will ever top that.
Well, China,
I've seen one better.
They've had 5 weeks to practice. And imagine,
they've had 5 weeks to practice Arena of Valor, years to practice the Chinese edition of the game.
Exactly. So now for Vietnam, what do they change up here? They're going to start with at least the side selection being themselves onto the blue side. China, they get their home colors of red, though, for the Dragons. And even then, I don't know if getting that extra ban helps you.
How come they get the coolest mascot?
Dude, dragons are threatening and scary. It's a little bit,
Terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Looking at it now, that is a terrifying dragon. We're into the batting phase, though. That Grak already removed. And that's interesting to me as a first ban from Vietnam.
Yeah, because honestly, I think it's what it is for Vietnam is they want to play the Alice. That has to be the answer here. They want Polo on the Alice. With Grak being off the table, you kind of take away that counter, but I don't know if that's the priority. Because for me, Polo, where was he during that game? Honestly, he was often responding to aggression. We didn't see him make plays.
So it's interesting. One of the things about both Alice and Grak is it's very easy to miss their impact unless the rest of the team is following up. You can land all the sick hooks in the world, all the excellent sunshine stuns in the world. If there isn't damage to follow the stuns, to follow the hooks, then it doesn't look like you're doing anything. And it doesn't appear that you're doing anything in the stats either. So I would go out on a limb and say we haven't decided whether or not Polo's present, but the team play for Vietnam definitely isn't.
Well, we're going to go ahead, get into our pick and ban here. Team E being the final one on the side of Vietnam. On top of that, they don't want to let 9AK, chase people down in the jungle with that Zenyo. And then,
that was bullying!
And then teleport back to the fight.
There's a presidential campaign against that. No more bullying.
For China, of course, banning away the Superman on the red side, as well as the Arum.
Yep. I like the RM ban from China. I said earlier. Ooh.
They're just sticking to their guns here. Actually, they've taken the bans, I believe, from Vietnam on their red side.
Yeah. Okay, sure. All three of those are standard bans. You shouldn't live in a world where Superman or Omen or RM get through the draft consistently. Of them, Omen is the one you can let through occasionally.
All right, here for Vietnam, going to be locking in the Moloch for themselves. Going to have that ultimate to go for the fights into the jungle or look to zone away members of China during a dive.
Irie will come out. Oh, no, I shouldn't call things ahead of time.
I know. It's a little spooky. It's a little spooky. We get to see all the splash arts now.
I was excited for the Irie because the Irie to me is a sign of more aggression. We don't get that, but they do get the Lindis.
Oh, man. For Vietnam, that's not what you want to give over because we saw, Yi Chen on the Fennec was doing damage. Now on a Lindis, It only gets worse.
Lindis is one of the most powerful marksmen in the game, if not the most powerful, and her speed, she gets a little speed boost when she goes into brushes. What that means is a well-played Lindis just zooms around the map. It's insane.
On top of that, Yi Chen himself already clears out the jungle at an incredible pace. The amount of gold he generates for himself alone, he's sitting at 710 gold per minute coming out of the group stage. The guy is a farm machine, and that's with China also looking to engage on fights.
One of the other things to talk about if we're working on positioning is Yi Chen has some of the lowest damage per minute taken of all junglers, sitting at just 1,900 average damage per minute coming into today.
It shows that he has great positioning during these fights. That's the main reason why his KDA is also 9.6 coming out of the group stage.
And everything about him is that impressive, and I do feel it all comes from that smart movement. You're able to farm well if you're zooming around the jungle quickly. You're able to stay safe in fights if you're playing back, keeping yourself safe, and of course it's a delicate balancing act. You don't want to be irrelevant to the fight, but you want to be safe enough that you're not focused down. That's how you achieve that high KDA.
All right, Vietnam here, a little bit of a switch up, because Blake really likes that Liliana. It was available, instead opting in for the Tulin.
I can only see the Tulin as a sign of changing things up. Both Tulin and Liliana fit rather similar roles.
This is a poke-heavy composition coming out here.
That is the exception. I would say Liliana typically has to commit more to fight, so a ton of her damage comes from that combo with the unpredictable, using the Riki shot, and that takes work, dive, effort going in. Tulin, by contrast, can kind of hover towards the back of a team fight if you're playing it passively. Maybe that's the idea. We want to play defense, but we don't want to give up all these major objectives. Build a composition that can prod away at the Chinese team as they go for our towers.
My only concern here is Polo on the Joker. Early on we saw China able to abuse him, able to catch him out during the rotations. Sure, you're on that Joker, you have a little bit of CC immunity, but still, if he gets chunked out, that's going to force him to have to back off because he's mainly just here as a poke machine.
Yeah, I do think Joker's got a little bit more mobility. Of course, with that ultimate canned laughter, you dash towards an opponent and then leave. You're still very targetable. Due to a recent change, he's targetable during that animation, which makes it significantly less powerful, but it's a good escape ability.
But look at how much CC coming out here on the side of China. They're really just saying, hey, if you want to come at us, we will knock you around.
Arduin, Lumber, Crexy, I don't know what you do in the face of that, because you're going to get stunned, you're going to get slowed, you're going to get slowed, you're going to get stuns.
You're going to get knocked up?
Yep, it's going to be brutal, and I think that will be ugly to watch.
Yeah, Vietnam trying to change up their draft here, but it looks like China, they're saying, all right, sure, we'll play something a little bit more different. Our Wombo combo that is just ready to go during these fights. On top of that, then, even if they don't clean up all the members of Vietnam with that Moonfall, Yichen will just be on the side waiting to clean up. But the Slims here for TFs, I think this requires TF to have to go make plays early.
Yeah, it also gives them a little bit more CC, so I guess that's good. I'm just genuinely not a fan of Slims because I feel his only real major ability is that stun.
Another thing for Vietnam that we saw in Game 1 for me also was Bronze 5. We didn't really see him.
Shut down.
He was shut down. And a big factor for Vietnam when they won games during the group stage was Bronze 5. He was able to farm up. He was able to find some kills and apply pressure. But when the enemy team was able to isolate him, he kind of just becomes non-existent.
I think also we're seeing a bit of a capitulation to that as well, because the Malik is not a character you typically see run isolated.
Yeah, especially he doesn't have the true 1v1 carry potential you'd often see with his other picks most of the time. Either way, it's going to be China looking to take Game 2 here as they walk on in.
China do need to play this a bit cautiously. Don't get overconfident. Play it smart and safe.
Well, knowing them, though, they like being aggressive, TJ, so...
A very confident team, would you say?
They're extremely confident. You do see Bronze 5 coming on over, looking to just zone away Junjun. So the rest of the team down toward the bot side of the map. Looking to just clear up for Vietnam, though. For them to win, oftentimes we say you got to slow down the pace of China and their early game aggression.
It's a hard rope to walk. Vietnam typically play very slow and safe, steady, if you will. If they don't also slow down China, that's just them playing overly defensive. If they are able, though, to take a few team fights, actually lower the overall pace of the game, I think they come out on top.
But then if you look at the side of China, they oftentimes want to find those team fights early, group together. We saw it last game. It was usually a roaming squad of 4 at that point when 9AK in the bot side with the Zenial. You know, they just have the power here, especially with the team fights. There's a lot of combinations they can go for with the CC and the AoE of Nanwan.
And specifically when you're Vietnam, you're trying to find pressure to create that slow game. You have to worry because China are game to take these fights.
Bronze 5, he gets the shield on back, but he'll get taken down by Mengji as that's going to be first blood going in favor of China.
And I don't know what Vietnam do except
Blake.
run. Blake's still in trouble.
He's got the blinks, but he doesn't have that much. He's going down extremely low. Trap is going to pop, but he's able to get out of the radius just underneath tower, but that's going to force him to have to back.
And that's what's known as an effective kill. Here's the replay. Bronze pushing forward. He's got Polo and TF to back him up, but Nanwan's Crixie play round the corner is so smart because it forces them to reconsider their positioning for even just a moment. If they decide to dive onto him, he's already retreated. He's already round the corner, so he can't be taken down himself, but his presence stutters them, scares them for long enough. Bronze is taking a 1v3, and there's no way he survives.
And we literally just said for Vietnam, slow and steady wins the race for them in this case because China, they love going for those team fights, especially in the tight corridors with Nanwan on the Crixie. That's just so much AoE and the CC available. Oh, Yamate!
Beautiful.
Stealing away the Abyssal Dragon. I take it back. Vietnam, they're able to at least pick up something.
Nicely done.
All right.
Slow down the pace of the game like so, and be able to find these major objectives. You can't rely on steady steals, but Yamate earns his team a reprieve, brings the gold back to even.
That was Yichen actually missing out on the punish there, so a little bit of a mistake that we don't see too often from China, but see how they respawn. That's actually a shock coming on down. Nanwan over toward the side, going toe-to-toe with Blake in the jungle, is able to escape. Blake making his way up toward the top side of the map. 4 members of Vietnam looking to pressure this top lane tower.
Blake very quickly found himself surrounded by far too many Chinese members, but they'll still go for this tower.
Oh my goodness, Junjun forced to back off. Yichen, though, coming back in onto the side, wants to go for the play. 9AK leading the charge. Yamate also a hit. 9AK finds the knock-up. Yichen picks up the kill. They're able to also add an additional one to the counter. Yamate on the backside. He's going to fall. Yi Chen has now picked up 2 kills. I believe he can make that now 3 kills on the Lindis. This is not where you want the gold to be going to on the side of China. With Vietnam, now they are looking down the barrel of a super fed Lindis.
That was such an odd team fight because it starts with Vietnamese pressure. China normally have this split push thing down, separating up the fights. They're all coming from one side here, and it's only the 2 tanks that survived the initial burst and actually managed to eke back something for Vietnam.
You saw there Yi Chen with great positioning, picked up actually a quadra kill during the fight in top lane. That is, that's the kind of start you want for Yi Chen.
That's what he does.
There's a reason why he sits at about 80% kill participation out of groups. On top of that, he's a carry on the Lindis.
What Yi Chen does, that's why he's one of the most terrifying junglers in this World Cup.
You see Junjun there, gonna go toe-to-toe with Blake, just wants to back off. Abyssal Dragon started up here. Polo takes a decent chunk of damage. Look at this, China now rotating toward this bot side. You see Yi Chen able to just shred down Yamate if he stays around for too long. The knock-up coming in from 9AK. Not enough to actually pick up the kill. Up toward top lane, though, for Vietnam. They have been able to apply pressure toward this top lane tower and take it. How much are they going to lose, though, down toward this bot lane? Yamate just jumps on in. He's looking to delay the charge of China, I guess. But that's going to be a kill and a tower in favor of China.
China are just out-rotating their opponents right now. You can see that their map knowledge is doing very, very well. This is just things that you can see from individual players. Normally, you don't quite have a full picture of the game. And we're not quite there. For many Arena of Valor teams, they still rely on overall team coordination, their shot caller setting up the entire game for them. Here at China, it seems like every member just knows vaguely what's going on, knows roughly where they can stand.
Can't be caught out like that. Moonfall also coming on down. He just gets evaporated in the rain.
Again, map knowledge. Vietnam should have known that river was not safe. There are sharks in that water.
That is scary for Vietnam, though. If they want to come back into this game, they need to find a way to slow down the game. Allow Bronze 5 to help lead the charge, and that's the way to do it. Actually, is able to land a 3-man knockup. Junjun again taken down extremely low. There's no disengage, but Monkey just doesn't care. He'll trade his life 1-for-1. Nadwan now bringing down the ultimate. The knockup's going to connect Bronze 5. Polo, though, gets on in there, finds the kill.
Beautifully done by Vietnam, both to deal with the flank and to then take the team fight by knowing who to dive in and focus. Nadwan melts, and even though that fight starts so rough, it's carried by a man like Bronze 5.
Yeah, you saw Bronze 5 leading the charge there. If he's not able to get fed on a side lane, get farmed, he's able to help lead the charge, I guess, during these fights. You saw that 3-man knockup to start off the fight for Vietnam. That's what they need to help get themselves back into this game. They now limit the goal total to only a 2,000 advantage in favor of China after falling behind early.
China may finally have been stymied. We said slow down the game, force China to play the Vietnam style, and we do for the first time see China playing slow, looking for picks, having to play an awkward way for them. It's quickly over though.
Yeah, unfortunately, that tower isn't going to be surviving for too much longer, and that really opens up the map here for China. All the outer towers are taken on down. This forces Vietnam to have to play defensively. You do see Bronze 5 up toward the top side of the map with Polo. Might be looking for a play. Knockup's going to land. 9AK, though, still pretty tanky. Looks like the tower gets taken down to about half, but look at the response. China looking to answer. You have Yi Chen coming on the Lindis. Junjun also coming in for a party. Wants to go for a play, but they take down the Lindis. Polo's able to find the snipe. Nadwan wants to try and find the kill, but the Joker escapes.
And the rest of Vietnam is here to save the day. China shut down.
Bronze 5 leads the charge. Junjun does get the 3-man knockup, and unfortunately Nadwan still a little too far behind. Use the ultimate already. That's a great call by Vietnam. Understanding the cooldown is not there for Nadwan, and they're willing to go for this fight.
The fact that they're able to dive in and shut down Yi Chen instantly saves those 2 players who were isolated. Then they split. Polo, knowing he's weak and an obvious focus, runs away as quick as he can. Bronze stalls out the time and calls for the rest of Team Vietnam to come through from the side lane and force China back.
And this is what I wanted to see from Vietnam, an answer here in Game 2. You told me after Game 1 where they got perfect gamed, by China that they'd be keeping game 2 as close as it is. 6-8 the kill total in favor of China. The big difference for me, though, is still this mid lane tower, the first tower. Once you get that down, it really opens up the midsection of the map. And unfortunately for Vietnam, they can't push much farther than the river.
Here's the Spirit Sentinel, major objective.
Oh, TF gets knocked around underneath the Dark Slayer. Doesn't get aggro, though. Finally, it's going to actually go for something. Yamate has to be a bit careful, sits about half health. China pushed them back. So Vietnam can't find anything. Meanwhile, though, in toward the side lane, Bronze 5 was just looking to clear out the wave.
Good energy surge there from Yamate. We talk about Jarknar. I'm not typically a very big fan of him, but he has all these invisible little impacts. There he can stay a little bit longer than the rest of the team because he's CC immune. He won't just be burned down.
The trap here is set by China. Want to try and get Bronze 5, but he's still now pretty tanky here. Can't really burn him down just yet. Also, Polo's there for the support, so China looks like they're trying to set up plays, but they're not manufacturing anything.
Here's another play, but it's red. Vietnam know exactly where they are because they're checking these pushes with projectiles. That's maybe what this poke is for.
Comes on down, finds 3 members. Bronze 5 with the engage. Vietnam, they have to react. They have to respawn. Look toward the backside, though. Mungji is able to get on top of Blake. Nanwan is over toward the side. Blake is alive. That's such a key factor here because Yamate can look for the disengaged. Vietnam, they find a pick.
These Vietnam team fights are so clean right now. I'm loving every single one. Look at this team fight start. Bronze 5 knows he can tag the front line due to his build, and he has a little bit of backup from both Polo and Blake. Mungi dives in. He's trying to isolate Blake and burn him down, and instantly TF, Polo, and Blake all focus through, make sure he dies so the rest of the fight can go their way.
Oh my goodness, Junjun gets caught out at the Dark Slayer, and the Dark Slayer is actually captured here by Vietnam. Can China burn off some of these buffs, though, in the ensuing fight? They got 2 members already. They're able to back off. A good call there by Vietnam. They're at least able to secure 3 buffs. What does China, though, get on the map?
Well, they get a lot of control for the next few moments, but I'd like to highlight what that does for the Vietnamese gold pool. They have been constantly, I think, out-farmed by the Chinese. This gives them a way back into the game. Just for a moment, they're back at tie. That Abyssal, though, changes it back to the Chinese favor.
Yeah, the Dragon control from China has been clean so far, as they've only given up the 1 Abyssal Dragon so far during the series. Now look to rotate. This is now looking a little bit toward the side of China. Vietnam, we're going to be looking for a fight. China now just looking to push on in. Yamate, gotta be a little bit careful. For me, actually, Polo on this Joker, a lot more impactful than I was expecting.
Very good support character. You expect to see him poking, providing some pressure. He's actually provided a lot of the damage during these team fights, and his canned Laptor ultimates have been deadly every single time onto a key member like Yi-Chan.
See here, Nanwan just using the ulti just to clear out the Sage Golem. Vietnam looking to spring a trap, but he is caught out there by Yi-Chan.
This is bad from Vietnam. They just missed the entire buff. It's now faded. China knows it, and they're going to take advantage. They're going to go back on the offensive. It was a momentary reprieve for Vietnam because China didn't dare take the fight into the Slayer buff. That reprieve is now over.
Polo gets some damage there onto Mungji. Still going to back off. Bronze 5 just looking to clear out this bot wave, as China has been manipulating that bot lane, actually often sending just one person to push back the wave, letting it build up and then push back toward Vietnam. Killing Joke is not going to be able to find Junjun. No damage coming out there, but Polo's got to suspect something's up here. Blake wants to lead the charge, gets taken down pretty low, though, by the Lindis. He has to back off, even with the shield.
Look at Monkey. Every single fight, it seems like that Scud is constantly looking for a flank, looking for a poke setup. China, though, they're looking for more than that. They want a constant invade to keep that gold lead, and they'll get it.
But here, TJ, we're now hitting 13 minutes, starting to see the end of the item builds and the levels coming on through. China rotating up toward the top side. Vietnam, they have stalled out the game, but can they hold on for much longer with China now pushing here?
It's a little bit of a race. Polo and Vietnam press top lane. They're high ground, those exposed down bottom.
Shock comes on down. Yamate wants to go for the engage. The Lumber ultimate's going to come back to try and go for the disengage. Now Blake rejoins the party. It's a 3v4 Vietnam can hold.
Tiny little moment, they managed to force out that ultimate Moonfall, the highest damage ability on the Chinese team, on just the 2 tanks. 2 characters that can absolutely
Blake
take it.
Gonna go on in here, wants to find it. Junjun's able to escape. 9AK, he's still pretty tanky. Nanwan on the side of the fight. Shock's gonna come on down. They see 9AK. He's still, though, so tanky. Moonfall now off cooldown. Blake almost gets assassinated by Mengji. Nanwan will find the kill. Bronze 5 will fall. And now Vietnam, they're running for the hills, but China are picking up the kills.
That was far too aggressive from Blake. He leans out into the bush. He thinks he has a fair fight. Maybe he can catch off 2 instant members, but it's the 2 tankiest members of China that he's fighting. He gets so unlucky, or maybe just China are predicting that bush impact so well they only send their tanks to check it.
And you see Nanwan flickering in just to finish off Blake. So there's no more mage available for Vietnam, and now the pressure's coming through here in the mid lane. Moonfall coming on down. Yamate will fall himself. China rotating up toward the top side.
Some very long respawn timers still on the board, but most of Vietnam will be back in the next 5 seconds. 4 of them now up, but only 1 high ground remaining.
For Vietnam, they were able to keep this game so close, but it was just 1 mistake, 1 bad call, and look how much China takes back. They take 2 high ground towers, they take 4 kills, and they take themselves a 5,000 gold lead in less than a minute.
And it's all just like I said, Blake thinking he can spring a trap. He doesn't have enough backup, I think, and China just check it, obviously, with their 2 tankiest members, 98k and Junjun. They lean out, they take the fight, they have no trouble at all fighting 1 Tulan. And as a result, now China has the game in the bag.
They pick up yet another Abyssal Dragon. Bronze 5 goes toe-to-toe with Junjun. Both tanks respecting one another, but China now starting to group toward this bot lane. You can now see the call. Let the mid lane and the top lane push into the base and then form up for a fight on this last high ground tower. After you take the second tier, Vietnam, they can't fall for this trap, but they might just lose their base if they don't fight back.
This Malak over on Bronze is built really tanky, and I like it. It's so that you can fight things
Shock
like this.
Comes on down, doesn't find anybody. Yamate wants to try and take down Yi Chen, but he survives. Thunderbird will not find its target. Junjun used the ultimate just to zone away over toward the backside. Mengji is able to take down Blake. China pick up 3 members of Vietnam for the price of 1.
It doesn't matter how tanky your front line is if your back line is completely split off like that. This could be the final high ground.
China now knocking on the last turret of Vietnam in the bot lane. Still, though, the dive comes on through and Polo just gets obliterated. Yi Chen now onto the core. Vietnam, they are looking at possibly facing elimination in Game 3. TF, he wants to try and save the base, but he has no one else around as China takes the series lead 2-0.
If that's how you knock on things, I'm scared for my hotel door. They just blew past
They
that
took
final tower.
Okay, they were knocking on the door with a sledgehammer.
I could tell. It melted. It was demolished in seconds, and that's what this Chinese team have done so well. If you're ever like, man, how do I take a tower? I constantly feel like I'm not able to press through. What these Chinese players are doing is a tutorial.
And look at them. It's just another day at the office, TJ. Calm, cool, collected, and a couple smiles here and there. You saw, though, on Vietnam, heads are down. It is now do or die. They were able to bounce back after a devastating Game 1. We'll give them that, but they have to do a little better because it's just 1 mistake and China will turn the game.
Look at the goal difference. I really do think that Vietnam played despite losing the gold game quite early on. They were being consistently out-farmed, and they only earned it back via major objectives.
And that's a good call for them. They've changed up their play style, but Yi Chen on yet again this Lindis. Look at that kill participation, TJ. 89%. Yep. Is all over the place. Also picking up a triple. Actually, that was a quadra kill in top lane to begin things off. It's not the start Vietnam need.
No, it might be the start they deserve, though, because that was a very risky push.
Very risky, and we can take another look at the plays. Bronze 5 was able to find great Shock ultimates to come down, but unfortunately, 1 misplay there in the mid lane, and China just took it all the way back home.
A very different play style from Bronze 5. We typically see him staying completely isolated in the lane. Here he took the front line, oftentimes was what led his team into team fights, and he did the role very well, multiple times saving the game.
And you got to give it credit. Someone on Vietnam needed to make the calls, needed to lead the charge into these fights. You see there China, after their win, still looking pretty good. One thing I will give Vietnam that I did enjoy, though, is they went for that Dark Slayer after catching out 2 members of China.
Yeah. Very good conversion into objectives. Then, though, we saw that defensive playstyle from Vietnam rear its head again. They had the Slayer buff, they had multiple players cowed behind the towers on the Chinese side, and they did very little with it.
So you see there, 9-19, the kill total. A 9,000 gold lead to end things off. 9 towers for China, the 4 Abyssal Dragons on top of it. So for Vietnam, now it's do or die. You're heading into game 3 with the possibility of being sent home tomorrow and not making it to the semifinals. Vietnam, of course, will have blue side for game 3.
Vietnam with the first pick, with the first ban. I don't know how much the draft changes, though, because that was perfect. Maybe you drop the slims. I'd like to see something with a little bit more tower damage picked up, like a Violet.
That could be nice, actually, because, you know, TF, he was around, but I didn't see as many flying spears as I'd like to. It was mainly used as a follow-up. I didn't see it often leading to ganks early.
It wasn't the initiation. Most of the time that initiation came from the Malik that I'd absolutely like to see picked up again. Bronze 5 showing another side to his play.
Now see bans coming on through. Vietnam, once again, the Grak not being allowed for China. China, of course, being on your red side, of course, going to ban away the Superman. And they're even banning away, like, the Omen. China are just off. They don't feel like they've been challenged yet.
No, I mean, why would you? Just ban out the characters you feel like you never want to play against, and why worry about counter-drafting if nothing's really countering you?
Exactly. Vietnam also banning away the Zenial, the Arum on top for China. Now coming down here, Vietnam, you can see that team, they are still, I don't see much communications right now, TJ. This is looking a little bit, you know, dire. There's a lot of stuff going through these players' heads at the moment, because honestly, you're thinking, we lose this game, we're done. We lose our shot at $200,000. We lose our chance to play over at the TCL Chinese Theater.
Last year at the Asia International Championship, Vietnam was the team that got far further than anyone expected. Constantly pulling out upsets, pressing forward against teams that were rated as much more experienced and much more successful. Here, maybe they expect to do the same, maybe they can do the same, but it needs to start now.
And so far, TJ, the picks are remaining the same. Coming out from China, the Scud and Lindis once again for Yichen.
Malik coming through first for Vietnam on Yamate. I do like. It's a good pickup that we saw for Bronze 5 last time. Presumably it's being passed back over to him, and if so, maybe he can have the same impact.
Lead the charge, lead the team fights, and find the kills. Turn that into objectives. Vietnam, they were able to slow down the game in Game 2. They didn't get steamrolled by China like we saw in Game 1. Now, time ticking down for the picks here on the side of Vietnam. Need to decide what they want to go with.
Okay.
Blake, all right.
I like the Crixie. Yeah. Tulin was very powerful at the poke game, but I think taking the Crixie away from China is just as important. Yamate, very, very, very good at securing that front line, slowing down the play, but it wasn't enough. We still saw that Crixie finding big damage repeatedly.
So those are going to be your lock-ins here. China with the response. Nanwan just having some fun. Flexing through the Flash, the Tulin, even the Ignis. I doubt that's actually going to be coming out anytime soon from China, but we'll have to
I
see.
wouldn't put it.
I wouldn't say it's out of the question.
Yeah.
Like, China might have been practicing it. Tulin, though, and the Arduin also getting picked up here.
China does some weird stuff. We haven't seen it yet, though. The Arduin is into meta. What do you mean?
I
They
just
pull
don't know.
out a Fennec repeatedly.
And it's working, man. I don't know if it's weird after it finds success.
Okay, China do some innovative stuff.
There you go.
Less of a negative word.
Vietnam locking in the slims. I know you didn't want to see it, but they feel confident with it.
Okay, I'm not opposed to the slims because it can still find big stuns, big value for a team that's struggling to hold back waves of aggressors. The problem is I didn't see those game one.
No, we didn't see it in game one. China, final lock-in. This is looking pretty much to be the same comp. It just looks like the trade of mages coming through here for game 3 if they lock in this lumber.
The Charged are actually surprisingly effective. I'm normally a critic. I'm normally an elephant doubter. But...
so what's your thoughts on Thailand? Because, you know, they have the elephant as the mascot, the logo.
I don't doubt Team Thailand. Team Thailand is terrifying. Much like this Charganar has been.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, big time. The Charganar played very, very effectively in this last set as a way to slow down the fights. We saw the Chaos Protection repeatedly used to give him more time, he and his teammates more time to survive the seemingly infinite CC coming through. I really do like how much damage we're seeing a good Charganar pull off as well. It's very fun to watch.
Well, this will be on Polo, it seems, so
a little bit of a difference.
Acting as a roamer, because for Bronze 5, going to be having the Irie getting locked in here.
Huh. I assume...
We thought the Malik was going to go on to him.
Yeah. Yamate picking up the Malik. He normally can play Malik, so that's not out of the ordinary. The Irie coming through gives them a little bit more poke, a little bit more stun damage, and we certainly saw them threaten that during the last draft. I said I'd be okay with it then. I think I'm okay with it now. The reason I'm a little bit questioning of it is because Bronze 5 found so much as the engager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going for those fights, leading the charge, getting the 2 to 3 man knockups. But if you missed, China would punish, and they punish greatly.
And Irie can still find those engagements. You can use that Shadow Dash right into the Ryu ultimate, but that punish is specifically the problem. Malik, you can build him so tanky that 3 people shooting at you, he doesn't care. Irie, not so much.
Well, guys, we're going to go ahead, load on in for Game 3 between Vietnam and China. Vietnam looking at elimination here if their core is to fall.
The brink of the precipice. Sorry, too dark.
Oh, boy.
Blood dripping from the ceiling once more as another team on the chopping block.
I just cleaned the ceiling from yesterday, TJ, after the Korea-North American matchup. Like, come on. You know how hard it is to get stains out of white?
You said it, not me. Pressure forward again from Vietnam. I say that like it's something important because I think it is. Vietnam need to stay aggressive, continue being a team that's in these games. The second they break mentally, start just cowering in their jungle, they're out of here.
You saw there, Yamate looks to soak up a lot of the damage that comes into Vietnam. But look at this toward the bot side of the map. China looking to pressure, looking to just clear out the way. Bronze 5 already being pressured here, and that was one of the win conditions, you know, we talk about for Vietnam. How well will Bronze 5 perform? If he's being pressured early, it's rather difficult.
We also talk quite a bit about Nan 1. That's why. We were talking up Sleepy for having similar damage numbers. Nan 1 has done it on a consistently winning team.
And look here, Engage coming on through. 98K, though, going down extremely low. This is looking like game 1. Vietnam, they're able to find first blood, and it goes on to Bronze 5. Does China answer back? The fight is not in their favor. Knockup comes on through. AOA is there. Bronze 5 with a double kill to open up game 3.
We said, are you sure you want to leave the more tanky, less damage-dealing character? Bronze 5 says, yes, I miss finding all the kills.
And hey, he gets himself some gold. Let's take a look here. China, they were
stun.
the ones actually, that was a nice flying spear.
Yeah, the flying spear, we were just questioning it. There you go, there's my answer. I'm sorry for doubting it. Blake also very adeptly dodging Nan 1's pressure with a flicker into the Dragon Pen.
And you saw it there, if Yi Chen actually isn't able to do any damage during the fights, it's rather difficult for China to find the kills. On top of that, great rotation from Vietnam. They find 2 kills, go for an objective, they take the Abyssal Dragon early.
Nicely done by Vietnam. This gives them a good gold lead, currently at just under 2,000. And I think it's very important that they maintain that because China are going to constantly do this. Pressure the jungle, invade.
9AK, he will get to safety though, up toward the top side, like you mentioned. China make their way in, want to try and deny some of this farm. Bronze 5 looking to pick up some himself, but you see China now isolating 9AK. He's still toward this bot line. He's keeping Vietnam interested. Can't escape from this dive though. Yamate will pick up the kill, and Nanwan was the only one seeming to rotate. Look toward the top side though. China looking for a dive onto Blake. They want to try and get the kill, but there's no minions.
Look at how much Bronze scares them. He leans out and they go, we're out of here. This is a dangerous place to be.
Oh, Vietnam, they gotta be feeling a little bit more confident now. They pick up their third kill.
Oh no, he didn't steal it. I thought maybe Bronze had just taken that from Yi-Chen.
Luckily for Yi-Chen, he's able to secure it. 9AK just going back underneath the tower. That's a shock used underneath the tower by Yamate.
Right.
All right, Vietnam, what are you going to do here? Polo wants to go in underneath. 9AK
Rotate
getting isolated. Junjun is coming over to the side. 9AK is able to escape. Junjun now coming on in, has his ultimate available. Mengji wants to go for a dive, but these are 3 tanks running at Vietnam.
The slow coming out from Polo on the Chagnar is perfectly timed. Energy surge so powerful, and I've come to have a new appreciation of the effect such a strong slow can have over the past
Yi-Chen's
few
here
days.
though. Knock up is there. Yamate is able to get back underneath his tower. Now still seeing China looking to pressure here toward the bot lane, but top lane is now open. Bronze 5 is going to start taking down that first tier tower.
Here's the next Abyssal. China, should they pick it up, build a strong gold lead.
You see Bronze 5 actually cutting the wave up in top lane, so really forcing China to have to make a decision. Do see TF gonna go toe-to-toe here with Yi-Chen, has the level advantage on the punish, but Yi-Chen is able to secure the Abyssal Dragon. Vietnam won't get the second.
That is major. China would have been buried behind an just insurmountable mountain of debt. As is, though, still have a lot of money.
Bronze 5 possibly looking for the dive. Junjun just using his ultimate to slow him down as China look to evade. You gotta be a bit careful here. Polo and Bronze 5 very aware up toward the top side of the map though. You do see Mengji still sitting there, 9AK actually looking to pressure. And it looks like we have a little bit of a pause. It seems like a player on China is not able to hear his fellow teammates. So that's a little important.
Yeah, got to make sure that there are good communications, particularly among that team that relies, I feel, so much on communication. We said multiple times, I think it was mostly me, those were some of the cleanest team fights I've ever seen. The Chinese team definitely have the benefit of experience, being a team from KPL, being a team that's played the Chinese edition of the game for so long.
Yeah.
Literally years.
Literally years. Sure, they've only been playing AOV for, this edition for 5 weeks, but they have that experience that allows them to transfer it over, especially during team fights where it's a lot about your combos. Especially they like to play heavy knock-up combos into AOE damage, try to just wipe a team in a single fight. And they're pretty good at it. They're pretty good at punishing too. If you overstep...
I noticed that.
You saw that? You saw that? Vietnam, they had themselves a lead in game 2. And that's the thing that's got to be kind of worrying to them in their head. If they make one mistake, China can easily take back this game 3.
I'd like to talk about the split dive, though. Jushang repeatedly, he keeps showing up in the back lines of fights. Monkey as well. Both of them just do this thing where they just show up with big damage, and you're like, how does Scud just come out of a jungle?
Yeah.
How does Scud just appear amidst 3 of the highest value, most protected characters on the team and burn them down?
Looks like we've sorted out our communications issues, so we're going to go ahead get back into game 3. Vietnam sitting at 1,500 gold ahead of China, which gets them a good chance here of trying to force more games. But if they get dived underneath their tower, Blake goes down low, but Bronze 5 is able to answer.
However, China take advantage of the pressure. Sure, you evade that, but they've got a top lane tower.
See Vietnam looking for it. Meanwhile, though, Nanwan is still dead here. The tower is going to get taken on down. Pressure coming on in here from the side of Vietnam. China looking to rotate back toward this mid lane, try and clear out the wave, but you gotta be careful because the pinch is now coming on through. Yi-Chen looking to back off. You can see that kill participation rate, 77% coming out of groups. This guy is a part of a lot of China's success.
Because he constantly has such good positioning. This is a deep dive from Vietnam.
Yeah, Vietnam, they're able to pick off the tower. China, they just don't feel confident here going for a fight. They feel like they're hesitating.
Again, so much of it is from this Malik, and this Malik has been shuffled between players. Game 1, it was on Bronze. Game 2, it's now over on Yamate, but it's having the same effect. They don't feel like they can take an honest fight versus a character that has both that much damage and tank.
And I think we're starting to see the amount of punish coming in from Vietnam. I think they now understand that 9AK looks to just play passively. He tries to sit underneath the tower in Bronze 5. He's an aggressive player. He'll go for those plays even while you're underneath the tower. That's forcing China to have to rotate up to try and protect their top side.
Oh,
Blake, though, if he gets caught out here, he won't be able to participate in any kills. He gets taken on down.
No, he won't, because he's dead. Nicely done. I think it's very important to compare the participation rates of the mage players, because oftentimes they're at the core of these team fights. You expect the mid laner to lead almost in damage.
Well, that's going to be another Abyssal Dragon secured here for Vietnam. Sitting 4-1 in the kill totals. Mungji wants to try and contest for this Sage Golem. Yamate jumps in with the shock. China still looking to push in, but now you can see the pressure coming on back. Bronze 5 can go in and try and dive onto the carries. 9AK over toward the side, gets himself a double knock-up. China trying to fight this back. Yi Chen is still untouched. Nanwan is able to find himself a kill. Bronze 5, though, will answer. 2 members of China fall.
Excellently done, and I particularly liked that Malik shot coming through. It seemed, you might have watched, that it only tagged 1 player. The reason it was so significant was because the crater was there for quite a while, meaning any of the Chinese players who were trying to get involved in that fight had to walk through the edge of the shot crater and get the slow applied.
So Vietnam still applying pressure. Blake over toward the side. Yi Chen almost gets taken down. Blake, all right, damage starting to pile on through here.
Very nicely done, and I like to see it. The change coming over Vietnam. They're now constantly finding pressure of their own, maintaining this gold lead, and that's what they need to do if they can hope to take this game.
Now, TJ, when it comes to this, is this China making mistakes, or is this Vietnam adapting to the situation?
I think it's Vietnam doing a little bit of what we asked from moment 1. Press into the Chinese jungle so that you can play defensive.
Yamate coming on back toward the Sage Golem. Nanwan going to go ahead through that mid lane. Instead, just backing off China. Looking like they're not looking to group together just yet. It feels a bit out of place. 9AK doesn't know Polo's here. Has to figure something's up. Is going to spot him up, but up toward the top lane. Yi Chen and Mungji want to go for a play onto Bronze 5. He has 2 levels on both of them. Going to back off.
He has the ultimate at the perfect time. The Ryu ultimate providing him both the stun and shield. You need to spend it at the very last second when both players are on top of you so that you can fully disengage.
9AK has to be careful here. Polo just looking for the slow. Junjun wants to just use his ultimate to try and disengage. TF is able to find some damage toward that mid lane, though. You do see China starting to group up. Vietnam, they make the call, gets the double knock up underneath the tower. Blake dives on in. Vietnam, they're starting to run away with this, TJ.
Beautifully done. Mid lane, Bronze is under pressure, but Vietnam are coming back.
Vietnam.
Or not. They're good. They don't need to come back. It's handled. It's under control.
They're ahead right now. They're up by 5,000 gold. They have themselves a 5-kill lead, and they're starting to pressure onto their first high ground tower of the series. Junjun wants to back off, though. Mungji wants to go in. Yi Chen now to rejoin the fight. A little bit low onto the mana, and the knockups there has to back off.
I'm so uncomfortable with Blake's pressure, it's making me nervous. I want to root for the underdog, and they're only getting this lead back due to what they're doing in terms of pressure, in terms of control that they're gaining.
Look at this onto your mini-map. Almost gets caught out there. Meanwhile, the Abyssal Dragon is taken here by Vietnam. Blake almost gets taken down. Yamate wants to rejoin. Junjun able to lay down the ultimate for the disengage. No one falls. Blake, though, has to back off. Nanwan onto the backside of Vietnam. You can see this is what China does. Nanwan wants to try and delay the game, but he's caught out. And this is Vietnam actually reading China China, because
Yes.
this is something Nanwan does. If China fall behind, Bronze 5 is going to ensure they continue on such a trend. They will try and cut waves. They will try and limit the amount of minions coming in. This is China playing desperately.
That was so good. Both parts of it from Vietnam. Primarily recognizing there was going to be a flank and dealing with it so
9AK.
well. And secondly, following through, shutting down the major damage dealers.
Yamate dives the tower. It will fall behind him. TF will secure it. And on top of that, now the pressure's leaking on in. There's a minion, TJ. China on the brink of losing their first game of the tournament to Vietnam here in the quarterfinals. Core at half health.
Undefeated till this point, and Vietnam threaten them.
Looking a lot closer to their performances we saw at the AIC. Now coming in here, sitting at an 8,000 gold lead, 11-2. Bronze 5 being a leading factor for Vietnam. Look at the gold total, TJ.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about Bronze last game, and he's currently in this game 5-0-2. The man has not died, and he's responsible for just under half of his team's kills.
On top of that, he's sitting at 10,000 gold, and he's looking to add more. Mengji just wants to get him to back off. You see China, though, looking to isolate Bronze 5. This exposes their mid lane. China know this is happening. They have to take off and defend the mid lane.
This is actually a relatively tanky Irie build, which I appreciate because we were talking up how defensive his Malik was. Bronze still brings that factor, allowing him to take major engages and survive.
For China here, what is the call? How do you try and fight back here? Try and bring back game 3 with it, so you don't tarnish that perfect record, TJ.
Find a burst, find the Dark Slayer, then just run lane.
Well, 9AK, able to find the double knockup. Polo goes down a little bit low. Still, though, the tower being Nanwan just dives into the middle of the fight, finding 5 members that all turn around and just slaughter him in the jungle.
But it works because Polo is now solo. He has to fall back. Either way, it's a smart play. Unfortunately, Vietnam, they're playing 5-dimensional Arena of Valor. They just go right for the Dark Slayer. Now with the Slayer buff in hand, they could ruin the perfect record of China.
China down 11,000 gold. Teams often, though, talk about China, how well they can play, how long they can stall. Vietnam, though, I don't think they're going to give them an option. They dive a tower once again, playing this smart, take it down, and guess what? That tower up in top lane only has half its health bar remaining. Yi Jin gets chunked. That's the play. Vietnam know that they have the advantage. 9AK gets caught out. Junjun's going to be soon to follow at the pace he's going down. The tower will fall. Mengji's able to pick up Blake, but now it's just the core. Vietnam, the play is here. They need the minion wave.
All they need is one wave, and this game, this series goes to game 3 in their favor.
China looking to defend, though. Polo getting taken down quite low. Yamate goes back for the re-engage. Junjun taken down. But yet again, Mengji tries to go for the dive. Vietnam, though, are so far ahead that China can't do anything. Nanwan will get taken on down. Minions pile in onto the core. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a series on our hands as Vietnam brings it back, and now only down 1 game.
China brought down for the first time at the AWC.
China. Now the question becomes, how are those players feeling? Still looking pretty calm here. Still have the game in hand, the series available to them if they want to go ahead, make their way toward the semifinals. Vietnam hopes possibly raised. We saw some smiles there. They're feeling a little bit better. Actually communicating here during the break. Looking a little bit more confident.
I like that from them, and I want to see a return of the Vietnam we saw that game. It was much more aggressive than traditional, and that shows in their stat line.
Yeah, 15-3, the kill total.
Bronze 5.
Yeah, Bronze 5 is a little bit ridiculous.
Everyone else is sitting at 3-4 items. That's a complete build.
And for me, TJ, I think Vietnam understands the weakness here in China. Unfortunately for 9AK, because he plays so passively, Bronze 5 was able to take over that lane.
And we were talking up 9-8K as a very smart defensive player, but it didn't work well that time. As you said, Bronze 5 was able to gain complete control of that lane, and I think that side of the jungle. Then towards the late game, we started to see Bronze 5 open up these fights and close them with big damage bursts.
And for China too, you saw their tendency, if they try and fall behind, if they end up falling behind, they will try so desperately to try and stall out the game. Nanwan oftentimes trying to sneak behind the team to cut minion waves, but Vietnam read this. They were able to catch him out multiple times trying to slow down the game. That only allowed Vietnam to just surge ahead in the gold.
And Vietnam, we talked up those Chinese tower takes game 1 and 2. They had some clean ones of their own. So frequently, this Malik Jargonar combo, the Chaos Protection allows the entire team to push forward through CC that would traditionally stall up the fight. Then you have the Malik Shock, either used to cover their retreat or to allow them to find a clean engage as the Chinese team needs to disengage from its AoE radius.
Vietnam, they're going to be feeling pretty confident seeing that half of the stats being lit up as so. 9 towers, 3 Abyssal Dragons, and the 1 Dark Slayer. It's one thing for them too, the Dark Slayer takes. I've been liking it for Vietnam. They understand when it's open to them and taking the opportunity.
And I did love it because one of those key Dark Slayer takes was actually after they had lost a player. We saw the Polo on the Jargonar actually get burned down, and he was so low he basically had to retreat. What they then did, instead of saying, oh no, we've lost a player, we can't possibly go for a major objective, was we had control, we can take it.
Now TJ, I wanted to ask, would we see the Malik? And guess what? Immediately banned by China.
Absolutely not. That Malik was so key for Vietnam, I am astounded it even took them the second it did to ban him out.
So China respecting Vietnam.
That's big.
That's big for China, especially because we saw the bans being identical to what Vietnam just banned on red side. They said, oh yeah, those worked for you, we'll just redo it here in game 2 and 3.
China, I think, definitely benefiting a bit from being on the blue side now is that standard bans need to come out from Vietnam. The way this works is Superman basically always has to be a red side ban because the blue side gets first pick. So if you let him through, you're giving a Superman, a character that powerful, to China. Vietnam had less space to work with as a result. The key player, or the key character that they keep banning out, though, is that Grak.
Yeah, no, China's not been able to get a hold of that yet. Teamy also the ban here onto the blue side. Vietnam also banning out the Omen.
Smart.
So for China here, you look to just pick up this Zenial.
Yep, definitely a great Zenial we saw, presumably again run on 98k. How many times did that Angelic Splendor change the fight?
Well, it was a couple times. On top of that, he chased Blake through the jungle.
Forgot about that.
During the end of the game.
That was something.
Yeah, you know, he was hunting foxes, it seemed, through the jungle.
Hopefully, after that performance, Vietnam are feeling in the set. You can see.
All right.
Still very focused and very sure what they want to drop. The Scud, I think primarily you take it away from China.
Scud's going to be taken away. Bronze 5, though. We'll have, once again, presumably, the Irie.
I picked Jargonar. If I'm China, that Jargonar was so big for Vietnam.
Yeah.
I pick it up, actually. Which may seem silly because they don't especially need it. They certainly perform well elsewhere, but you can play it. And after that performance, I don't think you want any more Chaos Protections.
Well, China here for Nanwan. Still thinking about this Tulin if he wants to go for it. And there it is.
I'd actually be interested to see the Crixie on Nanwan. I understand why they want the Tulin. It's a very powerful pick character. But we saw the mobility of China, the aggression of China, especially their desire to take split fights, oftentimes backfiring in that game. As Vietnam, it felt like, had their number. I would have preferred to see maybe something that enabled them to move more as a team, because that's what I'm looking for from them.
For Vietnam here, what do they want to try and do? The Preta.
I would have a frustrate if that was the case.
You would have a frustrate.
A frustration.
One frustration.
One individual frustration with them, which would be the Preta. Because Preta's good, he's fine.
But you still got the Crixie.
But the Crixie's just good Preta.
Yeah.
Or better Preta. Preta's good.
Okay, Polo on the Joker. Okay. All right, Vietnam.
Frustrated.
All right, Preta gonna get locked in here for Blake. Polo gonna have the Joker. So Vietnam changing up the strategy, it seems, even though the Crixie was very much available here.
Especially after that last game where Blake was so good on Crixie.
And now China, back toward the blue side. The Fennec is available.
I'm just trying to still puzzle out. I guess you have more consistent big damage theoretically on the Preta if you can amp up those Plague Spectres towards the late game. But honestly, his toolkit's incredibly similar to Crixie. We've just seen Crixie perform so well. I don't understand why they're taking the risk when their backs are up against the wall to go for a character that they're not 100% they can perform well on, especially when last game was so good.
Well, we'll have to look and see if China are going to abuse it. Still, though, 10 seconds here for 98K to lock in China's final pick. Currently hovering this Wonder Woman.
I like it.
They've been going for these team fights. It'd be great to have the additional shielding.
Yeah, and also the big stun from bracelets. You can do so much with that stun in the middle of a fight just to stall out pressure. They have the Jargonar. Any stuns, any CC they find can go uncountered.
So Vietnam really changing up the draft here in Game 4, TJ.
Lots of dive. Scud, Nacroth, and then.
But
so
do you
Scud, Nacroth, Irie Joker, and then Preda.
My big thing here, TJ, is do you want to be diving onto a Zenial and a Wonder Woman during a fight?
No, you want to get to the Fennec and the Tulin if possible, but Tulin just runs so well.
And on top of that, Yi Chen, he's been known to have great positioning during these fights. So on top of that, Vietnam, they're going to have some trouble trying to isolate these carries. We'll have to see, though, if they can find it, because they were able to expose China a little bit here. They applied pressure to 9AK. Were able to force him off into the side lane, really abuse him. Vietnam found that opening.
I want to see it again. I want to see Vietnam do what they just did. Shut down the dive, shut down the split lanes. I don't know, though, because China looks so good right now.
See there, Vietnam calm here, it seems, coming into Game 4. Draft now completed, and need to keep their tournament hopes alive. They needed to pull off a reverse sweep. Game 1 is in the books. Need 2 more to go if they want to take it against China. And what a team to do it against.
Last game, we said Vietnam was up against the wall. And honestly, I had no expectation of them evolving like they did.
Especially, too, because we were not expecting Vietnam. They were oftentimes stuck in old tendencies that often would force them to fall behind. Either way, Vietnam up toward the top side of the map. It is Game 4 between China and Vietnam.
Still an elimination game for Vietnam. One more, and it's Game 5 tie set.
Well, Polo, gotta be a little bit careful here. Blake looking to just clear out the wave. See China want to try and push on in here instead. Yi Chen gonna go on over to the Sage Golem.
Yeah, and I like TF still pushing forward. Unfortunately, he's had to play within his own jungle, and we saw this dangerously from Vietnam. That was game number 1. They actually really didn't see a situation where they pressed forward in the early game, and that was the game they got perfect gamed.
Well, Yamate looking to push here back underneath the minions toward the tower. Blake already taking a little bit of damage here from Nanwan. Gonna have to see how much this Preta can pay off, because we were very puzzled during the draft, and the performance is going to be key here, because I feel like if that Preta does not show up, does not perform well at all, that's going to be kind of, you know, the main marker coming out of this game on whether or not Vietnam were looking to play this all the way.
The entirety of the Chinese team grouped here in the mid lane, staying safe for now, but the same is happening up top for Vietnam. They want to press forward.
Blake looking to back off here. Nanwan going to clear what he can. Bronze 5 and TF hovering up toward top lane with Polo. Now going to rotate down toward the mid lane.
Vietnam will stay grouped. China needs to recover, and they need to be careful.
Nanwan,
you're in a lot of trouble.
He's over. He has that blink over the wall. TF is going to follow him. 9AK now going to join in with the Wonder Woman. Wants to try and find the play. Does not have the bracelets just yet. Bronze 5 able to escape.
Look at the awareness from Bronze 5. In the middle of that fight, while he's running away and insanely threatened by the Wonder Woman, he actually drops the spin. That's that shuriken for a stun to slow down the play.
China looking for this Abyssal Dragon, will take it down. TF tried to get over the wall. Thunderbird gonna connect on over, force him back, but China play aggressive here. They don't find a kill, but go for the hasty play onto the Abyssal Dragon.
It was so close to a dangerous situation for both teams. I think that could have been fatal for either one. As is, though, it's a slight gold lead
Bronze
towards
5.
China.
Gotta be careful there.
He's good.
Ends up using the ultimate.
Don't worry.
Mungji coming on over. Why is he trying to? He's so... What? Are you serious? How is he escaping? Polo tries to run interference. Bronze 5. He's going for secret agent mode. He's able to escape.
That is insane. Bronze 5, that is some of the coolest movement I've ever seen, and it pays off. Mungi also getting tagged quite low in that exchange.
Oh, and that's got to be irritating. TF, though, he's going to fall here as Yichen's able to pick up first blood for China in Game 4.
Good return from China. Yes, that gets dangerous up top, but they're instantly able to find a response in that bot lane. It may be the tower as well.
Tower's gonna fall here. Yamate trying to defend it, but China are going to take him down, but up toward the top side. Mungji actually got taken down by Bronze 5, and Nanwan goes for the dive onto the Preta. All right, Vietnam, able to answer back and also pick up this top lane tower.
The problem is they're still under pressure in mid lane and struggling to hold. This mid lane tower will likely fall.
And that's the speed with this Fennec pick. If you leave open a tower, Yichen will just take it down without a second thought.
If this tower is left unguarded for 15 minutes, it's legally allowed to leave.
Tony, TF, he gets obliterated. Nanwan is able to find the kill. Vietnam wanting to try for a play. You're going to have Mungji come back over.
Two big ults blown.
Yeah, ultimates were both used, but it doesn't look like Vietnam even want to try and contest.
It's big. We saw this a lot last game, China being very aggressive with their ult usage. At multiple times, Polo used his major ultimate, or sorry, Nanwan used his major ultimate. Never mind.
Mungji, gotta be careful here. Bronze 5, he's playing aggressive. He's playing like he wants to stay in this tournament. Polo is able to intercept the Thunderbird there. Mungji is able to escape. China, though, pick up the second Abyssal Dragon, and these kills and objectives are starting to add up.
Okay, so China multiple times have used major ultimates, and it's backfired as they used them too early in fights.
Yeah, but Yamate, he's going to fall underneath the tower. That's going to be the second-tier bot lane tower already taken by China at 5 minutes.
This time, though, the ult usage has been perfect, and we saw it there again. Constantly having what they need. It's only Bronze 5 who's still finding pressure. The rest of Vietnam staying grouped and staying passive.
Well, for China, they say, okay, Bronze 5, you do you. We're just going to try and take everything else on the map while you're applying pressure up toward this top side. And even then, Mungji actually coming around the corner still wants to try and contest here. And 9AK also going to be there. Lasso is available if they want to try and pull the trigger. Nanwan also making the rotate up. 5 members of China toward the top lane.
China will be able to pick up that Seagull, and that'll give them extra vision into the jungle where they're trying to find pressure. Vietnam, if they want to respond, they've got to be doing what Bronze 5 is doing. What's happening down in their bot lane, and I really like it from both him and Yamate. Find pressure, find objectives, and you can see the second that tower is visibly under threat, China need to fall back and respond to it.
You see Yichen trying to chase down Bronze 5 in the jungle, actually using that ultimate. He's got nowhere to run, though, TJ. Bronze 5 gets taken down.
He steps into the Chain Hammer Cyclone, and it instantly backfires.
So they're able to pick off Bronze 5 and also give Yichen a kill toward the bot lane. TF, he's trying to contest here. Mungji leading the charge, but now runs into 3 members. Killing Joke comes on through. Yichen, though, picked up a kill over toward the side of the Dragon Pit. China having the advantage 2 for 1, and they want some more. Chainhammer comes on out. Double kill for Yichen.
That was so close to actually Yamate successfully... Sorry. So close to Mungji successfully managing to get away. He was on the Zenial, and he got hard focused, and he was able repeatedly to disengage, rely on his teammates. It was only a final effort coming through from both Yamate and Blake, one that took him out.
And that's going to be 3 Abyssal Dragons taken, and also a 6,000 gold lead for China. Game 4, Vietnam. They need to win to extend this series to a deciding Game 5, but at the moment, they're starting to fall behind. Bronze 5, even resorting to just continually pushing the lane. 9AK is looking to come on over here to try and interrupt him. And look, you got 3 members of China now just isolating him toward this top lane. Vietnam, they can't even push past the river. Bronze 5. Vietnam aren't even going to get anything for this.
No, Vietnam and Blake are still hovering, though. They want something.
China on the Dark Slayer.
They have vision. TF knows this is happening.
But Yi Chen is 3 levels ahead. Yi Chen missed the punish, but the Dark Slayer still goes in his favor. TF tried to get over the wall, but it was just a second too late.
He almost had the timing down, but I also love the fact the second he peeks out, there are just 5 people on him.
Yeah, they said you're not even going to get close to this Dark Slayer. Bot lane, though, you do see Yamate on that Scud able to pick up the tower, but they're losing so much more in the top lane. Second tier will fall.
Here's pressure in bot. Yamate still staying on. Theoretically, this will force China to turn around at some point, but that theory's not paying off.
Yeah, because Mengji, he actually cut the wave back, so there's no minions for Yamate, and China can just look for plays in mid. Polo almost gets taken out completely by Nanwan. 6 towers now fallen for China. It's almost like a wake-up call was answered, and now they said, hey, all right, Vietnam, you were able to ruin our perfect record. We're a little bit pissed.
Yamate had good play that entire time, though, repeatedly cutting wave. Polo's here to just get him out. Him and Blake, the extraction team.
And you saw Yamate forced to use his flicker to avoid the lasso from the Wonder Woman. Bronze 5 still up toward this top lane. Yi Chen is just cycling through this jungle, already level 15. You can just see his gold there and his kills, TJ. He's got 7 on the Fennec.
Beautifully done. That Fennec just so powerful, not just at finding towers like we've been hyping up, but also at finding kills, particularly with excellent usage of the ultimate Chain Hammer Cyclone that Yi Chen has been delivering on so far.
Bronze 5, he's trying to avoid. Give it to Bronze 5. He's been able to get himself out of situations he should not be able to escape.
Dodged a lasso. It was a fatal lasso onto him, and he dodged it with the dash. Shadow. He dashed through the lasso.
He's trying his best here, TJ, but unfortunately, it might not be enough. China still now pressuring, looking toward a high ground tower, and Bronze 5.
Slow.
He's still able to escape. Going to pull off the recall, but China now have the map to themselves if they want to go for a play.
That slow lasts for so long, but like you say, China back knocking on the doors of Vietnam's
Bronze. He's able to use his ultimate to try and get away, but 9AK doesn't want him to stay. Looking to charge on forward. Bronze still able to pull off the dash. He's brought actually 3 members of China. This does give Vietnam some breathing room.
Oh my
Bronze
God.
5. All right, that's enough. China says, we've had enough fun. You're done.
He was an inch away from being outside the radius of those bracelets. If he dodges that, he survives. He's so good. Absolutely, the takeaway for Vietnam should be you have a nuts player in the form of Bronze 5.
And he wasn't on our radar, TJ, when this tournament started. This has been kind of him demonstrating on the world stage that he can perform. The rest of the team, though, needs to follow up because now they are sitting 11,000 gold behind. It's 1,000 gold per minute for China. Chain Hammer coming on out just looking to zone off the side of Vietnam. The dive comes on through. Polo gets taken on down. Yi Chen will get the kill credit. Bronze 5 trying his best, but he will fall. 1 minion survives. China looking to lock their ticket into the semifinal. Vietnam, they are able to interrupt the minion wave. Mengji is able to get across the wall. The core will stand, but all it takes is 1 more fight.
Yamate saved that game, diving into the midst of it, popping his ultimate just to knock everybody back and slow it down.
TF wants to go for a play. Yamate charges on in, but the bracelets come back out. Knockup is there, and look at Nanwan
Minions
toward the
core.
tide. The core is exposed. Blake has to back off. China still pressing forward. Now the second tower and bot lane will fall.
That's the power of split push. Minions from top, minions from bot simultaneously. They have both towers down. Now, all they need to do, reset, get your HP back up, and go for the game end.
13,000 gold ahead. Yi Chen also going to pick up the
Watch how
Abyssal
quickly
Dragon.
he kills this dragon.
Oh, he's even using his
gonna be
ultimate.
insane.
Just how fast that goes down.
Boom.
Touch
And it's
of
gone.
a button.
I love that from the late game Fennec. Many people, I think, are kind of sleeping on his damage. You shouldn't be after this.
No, especially when he is literally double his opponent's gold when it comes to role in the jungle. 14 kills for China, 5 Abyssal Dragons. The amount of map control they have exerted here in Game 4, showing Vietnam that Game 3 was a mistake.
And you can also look at the goal difference. Vietnam so far behind across the board. That's just how much they've been shut out of the jungle throughout the entire game. That's what we said they needed to change. That's what they did change in the final game that we just saw played. Unfortunately, it's not looking any better.
Bronze 5 tries to interrupt this push from China, but they are still sieging on in. Final tower in the base will fall off this minion wave. Now the core remains. China just the core away from locking their ticket into the semi-final next weekend. Vietnam, with their dying breath, have to hold on. Bronze 5's gonna try just that, but China does not even care. The cores is theirs, and that's gonna be the series 3-1 to China.
A desperate last stand, but Vietnam fall, and the Chinese team is into the Chinese theater. It could be an absolute stomp because those are two teams that we've been looking for, China and Korea. Many people have them both highlighted as major contenders, and I think the two of us have seen why in both cases.
We now know our final 4 teams going into next weekend, TJ. For China, unfortunately, the perfect tournament no longer a possibility.
Nicely done by Vietnam. You can't highlight it enough. They played exceptionally well in that Game 3. That was a game that I don't think it's fair enough to say that it was simply a pickup because China made a mistake. We've seen games like that. Upsets that primarily come from a mistake. That wasn't it. That was a game that was delivered because Vietnam outplayed their opponents.
And you can see here as we look at the post-game stats, it's going to be 17-2 in the kill total for China. But I want to see this damage from Yi Chen on the Fennec because he was farming up a storm. Nanwan actually being the key one here, sitting at 38% still though. And like we look here, yeah, the Preta, sure you did all that damage from Blake. But honestly, I felt like the rest of the team just didn't do enough damage for that to matter.
No, I don't think they did. Blake did very well, and you could see even at the game end, he's still at a decent level. He was at level 14, I think, by the end, which is not very far behind where China was. Unfortunately, if it's only your mage contesting, if it's only your mage keeping it close, you oftentimes don't have this setup for his follow-up. That's one of the reasons I was a little bit concerned about the swap over to Preta. Because when you look at Crixie, one of the big things Crixie can do is the knock-up, the combo with Mischief and Nature's Wrath. And unfortunately, Preta doesn't have that power. He also lacks a ton of the zoning potential that you see from a character like Crixie, because Crixie has Moonfall, a big AoE ultimate. The second that comes through, you need to retreat, you need to run, you need to avoid the major damage. And Preta, well, he suffers in that space.
You see there, China. Final push was almost there. Vietnam were able to hold, but they lost everything else in their base. And then finally, China were able to push on through. Your post-game breakdown, 17-2 and 33. The teamwork here from China showing domination in their final game of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, Game 1 was perfect. Game 2 was not. Game 3 goes to Vietnam. We cannot highlight that enough, I think. This was not Korea VNA.
No, this was Vietnam actually putting up a fight, it would seem. And I think if you take anything...
minor shade.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not saying anything about...
It's all right. The NA team's already in the shade because they're back at the hotel.
Oh, dude. Actually, I heard they went out to the beach today. They had a nice trip. You know, they're still enjoying it, still having fun here. You have a free trip to LA.
Sure.
And you know what? They do take a little bit of a prize pool home. Not as much as they would hope, of course. And they can take this experience, considering they're one of the younger regions to have the game. Mm-hmm. They got to be pretty happy with their performance. But speaking of performances, we're going to go ahead and throw it on over to Matt on stage to talk with one of the players from China.
Thank you, TJ Opal. Yeah, I have one here of China, who are going to make it, as you say, to the TCL Chinese Theatre, to our semi-finals, to our grand final production of the World Cup. Congratulations, one and China. So through to the semi-final stage over Vietnam, but you lost your perfect record by just dropping that one game to Vietnam. What changed in that third match, which meant that Vietnam managed to score one?
首先，恭喜我们中国队进入4强，然后能够到我们的 TCL 中国剧院去进行我们的4强赛。但是呢，我们今天的第3场比赛里面，我们可以看到中国队好像在对战越南队的时候有一个非常非常明显的劣势。在那一场比赛里面发生了什么呢？
在最里面发生的，我觉得最大的失误也就是在于我，因为我那把平时都比较沉着稳静的，就那把比较打得太激进了，然后就很多波都是。没考虑过队友，然后我自己上了，然后就导致有些就一个一个的错，然后就导致这样了，就慢慢的就劣势了。
And he said, I think I was the reason that made the game fall into such a disadvantage. Because like normally I play really safe, but in that game I just want to kill people. So I go in without thinking about the other teammates. So that's the reason that gave them a lot of chance to catch us. And yeah, that's what he said. Yep.
Okay, that's very honest of you, one, taking the responsibility for the team. You have Thailand in the semi-finals. How does he feel going up against Thailand?
他说，承担责任这个态度是非常令人感动的。然后，另外在我们的4强赛里面，我们将对战的是泰国队，你有什么想法呢？
我的想法是我们待会儿回去就晚一点睡吧，然后就加油明天的比赛，然后我们全力以赴。
We need to stay up later to figure out what we do, but we will do our best tomorrow.
We've got loads of time. Thailand isn't until next Friday. You've got ages to prepare for that. But preparation, understood, needs to be done. They're a big opponent. Congratulations, one. Well done to you and China for making it through to our semi-finals. Yes, they are with us, of course, next Friday and Saturday when we go to the TCL Chinese Theatre. We'll talk a little bit more about those semi-finals in a minute. But first, let's go back to TJ and Opal and find out what they think.